As we've been reporting, Washington is focused on the president's racially charged comments targeting progressive congresswomen. Meanwhile, progressive policy differences are playing out on the campaign trail. Before the president's comments, CBS News campaign reporter Nicole Sganga sat down with Senator Cory Booker on his campaign bus in New Hampshire and asked him if he was worried the party was running too far left. Here's part of his response.
People don't think in terms of like the way people in politics or the Beltway do about left or right. They just want to say, hey, this country should work for everyone. And I'm going to be a person that's a fierce pragmatist when it comes to fighting to make real change in people's lives. And so, I don't agree with all the people on the primary field on things like getting rid of reflexively just getting rid of private insurance when you have unions that have negotiated and bargained for their insurance and tell you quite explicitly, I don't want to give that up. We need to do things in a way that bring people together and advance us towards justice.
Earlier, my colleague Tanya Rivero spoke with Nicole Sganga about her conversation with Senator Booker.
Booker does support some progressive policies, such as the Green New Deal and elements of Medicare for all. But how is he appealing to more moderate voters there in New Hampshire?
Well, the senator from New Jersey calls himself a true progressive, but he also calls himself a fierce pragmatist here on the campaign stump. And so he has defended private insurance, particularly for unions that have negotiated those deals, that want to keep a hold of that health care option for themselves. He also talks about reaching across the aisle and speaking with Republican lawmakers, mentioning that he made it a point to get dinner with each and every Republican lawmaker, senator, when he first got on Capitol Hill. Another issue where he is trying to sort of play both sides is when it comes to climate change. The senator has told voters here in New Hampshire that climate policy must be incorporated into all of the other policy provisions in his platform, but that you can't just flip a switch when it comes to fossil fuels and natural gas. There needs to be a transition period. And so, while the senator says that he has a truly progressive platform and he has put forth many of those policies, he understands that there is a transition there and there needs to be some sort of negotiation to make sure that things can pass their way through Congress.
And Nicole, Senator Booker took you through some of his campaign strategy. Let's take a listen to some of what he told you.
I don't care if the polls tell you this or that. I'm just standing up every single day and speaking from my heart and my spirit as well as my head, because I think that this election, as I always say, is not a referendum on Donald Trump. It's a referendum on who we are and who we have to be to each other. And that's why so much of my stump speech is about our common values, our common cause, and the larger urgencies of this moment.
So, Nicole, what is behind Booker's strategy of not addressing the president on the campaign trail? And is that resonating on the ground?
Well, the senator likes to make a joke on his stump speech that you can't fight fire with fire. He was the mayor of Newark, New Jersey, ran a fire department there, and he says that's not how that works. But more seriously, he does not want his campaign to become a platform for the president of the United States, he says, by just constantly responding to the latest tweet, the latest message from the president of the United States. He feels that if he does that, he will perpetuate President Donald Trump's campaign narrative without contributing to progressive policy and moving forward his own message. And I am seeing some voters respond to that. Folks that want, that feel as though beating Donald Trump is the floor, not the ceiling of this primary election cycle. I spoke with Jan Phelps, who is a resident of Portsmouth, New Hampshire. She told me that she finds President Donald Trump inspiring. He inspires his supporters and followers, and that while she does not agree with him ideologically, she is looking for someone on the left, a Democratic contender, that also inspires, and she feels as though Senator Cory Booker is up to that challenge.
All right, so Nicole, you've been in New Hampshire covering the primary candidates for months now. Has Senator Booker been able to set himself apart in this critical early voting state?
Well, he still hasn't broken through on many of the polls, both nationally and in the state of New Hampshire, but he has done some things that do set him apart. He's hired a very experienced staff that is now pushing 30 members in addition to, 10 interns. He started a Justice Academy, which actually trains local organizers, and they've trained upwards of 50 individuals, students and amateurs that want to become full-time organizers in the future. They also have a number of endorsements. He has the first two and only state Senate endorsements from John Morgan and David Waters. He also has the most of any state representative endorsements, with 6 of those. So in a state like New Hampshire, that actually does matter a little bit, because it shows that his team is putting in the legwork and the early groundwork. They were knocking on doors as early as April and May. They had their first weekend of action back in May, when certain teams hadn't even hired staff here in the Granite State. So certainly they've gotten an early start, and we'll see if the senator has a moment that he can then capitalize on with his well-organized team here in New Hampshire.
All right, Nicole Sganga, they're in New Hampshire. Thank you so much.
Thank you.